Welcome back to the Echoes of Ihsan podcast.
Yeah.
Today,
Hmm?
we're diving into the heart of Islamic practice, exploring the concept of purification as detailed in Sahih Muslim Hadith, Book 2, Purification.
It's not just about the rituals, it's
Mm.
about understanding how deep that connection runs between our physical actions and our spiritual state.
I'm intrigued. We're talking about more than just washing our hands, right? There's
Right.
a deeper layer here.
Absolutely. Let's start with Hadith 432. This one really lays the groundwork. It states that cleanliness is half of faith. This simple statement goes beyond hygiene. It's about recognizing that purity, both physical and spiritual, is integral to our relationship with Allah.
So it's like our outward cleanliness is a reflection of our inward state.
Exactly. And this hadith doesn't just stop at cleanliness. It goes on to weave this beautiful tapestry of faith, saying, Alhamdulillah fills the scale, and Subhanallah and Alhamdulillah to fill up what is between the heavens and the earth.
That's an incredible image. It's like
Yeah.
these words of praise have a weight, a substance that fills the entire universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It speaks to the power of our words, our dhikr, to connect us with the divine. And then it goes on, prayer becomes light, charity becomes proof, patience becomes radiance. It's a breathtaking panorama of how our actions, grounded in purity, illuminate our path.
It paints this picture of a believer radiating light through their actions, emanating from this core of purity.
Right.
And that leads us beautifully to the next set of hadiths, numbers 433 to 435.
Yeah.
These hadiths specifically emphasize the importance of wudu, ablution, as a prerequisite for prayer.
It's not just about showing up, you see. It's about preparing ourselves, both physically and mentally, to stand before Allah. Wudu, with its specific steps of washing, becomes this beautiful act of purification that allows us to approach prayer with a clean slate.
So wudu is almost like a ritual cleansing, preparing us for that communion with the divine.
Precisely. And these hadiths also touch on the purity of our intentions. Hadith 435 points out that charity stemming from ill-gotten wealth is not accepted. It's a powerful reminder that our actions, even those seemingly good, must be rooted in righteousness.
It's like the saying, actions speak louder than words.
Right.
But in this case, it's more like pure intentions amplify righteous actions.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's about aligning our inner and outer selves, ensuring that our actions reflect the purity within our hearts.
Now, speaking of wudu, Hadiths 436 and 437 go into quite a bit of detail, even showing us how it's done. We get this vivid description of Uthman b. Affan demonstrating the steps. The washing of hands, the rinsing of the mouth and nose, the washing of the face and arms, the wiping of the head, and finally the washing of the feet.
Right.
Each step performed with intention and precision.
It's fascinating to see how these steps, seemingly simple, hold deeper symbolism. Each act of washing is like shedding a layer, preparing ourselves to stand before Allah. It's not just about hygiene, it's about the spiritual cleansing that accompanies these physical actions.
There's almost a choreography to it, a
Yeah.
mindful sequence that brings us closer to that state of purity. It's like each movement is a step towards aligning ourselves with the divine.
And then we come to Hadiths 438 through 447, which highlight the profound rewards of performing wudu correctly and engaging in prayer with focus and sincerity. The wording is incredibly powerful. All his sins during the period from one prayer to another would be pardoned by Allah.
Wow.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
With each prayer, a fresh start, a chance to wipe the slate clean.
It's a beautiful cycle of seeking forgiveness and renewal. It's like each prayer is a chance to recalibrate, to realign ourselves with our faith and seek Allah's mercy.
It speaks to the boundless mercy of Allah, constantly offering us opportunities to cleanse ourselves, to seek His forgiveness, and to start anew.
But it's not just about the ritual itself, is it? Hadiths 448 through 453 take us beyond the physical actions, urging us to go deeper.
Here's where things get truly fascinating. We're introduced to the concept of the 8 gates of paradise, opening for the believer who performs wudu and testifies to the oneness of Allah.
8 gates of paradise.
Yeah.
Why 8, I wonder? What's the significance of that number?
That's a great question. The number 8 often symbolizes completeness and abundance in Islamic tradition.
Okay.
Perhaps it's a reminder that purification opens us up to a multitude of blessings, a richness of spiritual rewards that awaits those who strive for purity.
It's like this image of limitless possibilities, a
Yeah.
world of blessings opening up to those who purify themselves. And it's not just about outward actions either. Hadith 451 talks about setting about prayer with both heart and face.
Right.
It's like bringing our whole selves, our physical and spiritual beings, into alignment.
Exactly. It's about intentionality.
Right.
It's about approaching prayer not just as a routine, but as a conscious act of turning towards Allah with sincerity and devotion.
It reminds me of the concept of khushu in prayer, that state of deep humility and presence before Allah.
You're absolutely right. It's about aligning our outward actions with our inward state, creating a harmony between the physical act of prayer and the spiritual yearning within our hearts.
This brings us to the concept of fitra, the natural disposition, which is introduced in Hadiths 495 to 497.
Fitra is about recognizing the inherent purity and goodness within each of us, a natural inclination towards Allah.
Go ahead.
These hadiths outline 5 specific actions that are considered part of maintaining that fitra.
And those are circumcision, shaving pubic hair, cutting nails, plucking armpit hair, and trimming the mustache.
These might seem like simple acts of hygiene, but they go deeper than that. They're about maintaining a state of cleanliness and order, reflecting the balance and harmony that Islam encourages.
It's interesting how these seemingly mundane actions are connected to this deeper concept of fitra. It's like they're outward expressions of our inner purity.
And we're given a time frame for these practices. No more than 40 nights should pass without attending to them.
That emphasizes the importance of consistency and discipline in maintaining our fitra.
Right.
It's about making these acts a regular part of our lives, not just a one-time thing.
It's about integrating these practices into our routine, weaving them into the fabric of our daily lives as a constant reminder of our commitment to purity and balance. It's like we're constantly refining and purifying ourselves, striving to align our outward actions with the pristine state that Allah created us in.
Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about the beard and mustache.
Okay.
Hadiths 488 to 501 provide specific instructions regarding growing the beard and trimming the mustache. It's interesting to note that this practice was distinct from the norms of polytheists at the time.
That distinction is key.
Yeah.
It's about establishing a visible identity, a way of expressing faith outwardly and setting themselves apart from other practices. It fostered a sense of community among Muslims and served as a silent testament to their beliefs.
It's like a badge of honor, a visible symbol of their commitment to Islam.
Yes, and it's not just about appearances. The beard, for instance, is often associated with masculinity and piety in Islamic tradition, while keeping the mustache trimmed is about cleanliness and hygiene. Right. It's about finding that balance between upholding religious identity and maintaining a presentable and pure appearance.
It's fascinating how these outward expressions often carry deeper spiritual meanings as well. They're not just about following rules, they're about embodying the values and principles of Islam in a tangible way.
Absolutely. And then we have Hadiths 502 and 503, which expand the list of fitra to 10 acts. Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, contributes to this list by adding the use of the toothstick, snupping water into the nose, washing the joints of the fingers, shaving pubic hair, and cleaning private parts with water.
Okay.
There's even a possible 10th act, rinsing the mouth.
That's an interesting addition to the list. It seems to highlight the importance of taking care of even the smallest details, extending that concept of purity to every aspect of our physical being.
It really showcases the comprehensive nature of Islamic teachings. It's not just about major rituals or grand gestures. It's about cultivating a mindful awareness of purity in every aspect of our lives, even the seemingly mundane.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of our physical and spiritual states.
It's like saying that true purity is a holistic endeavor. It's about integrating these practices into our daily routines, not just reserving them for special occasions.
Now let's shift our focus to the etiquette surrounding relieving oneself. Hadiths 504 to 513 go into quite a bit of detail here, outlining specific prohibitions and recommendations.
Okay.
We see prohibitions against facing the Qibla, using the right hand for cleaning, using less than 3 pebbles, or using dung or bone for purification.
These guidelines, though specific, seem to stem from a deep respect for the sanctity of prayer and the importance of maintaining hygiene and purity, even in private moments.
Exactly. Facing away from the Qibla, for instance, demonstrates reverence for the direction of prayer. The emphasis on using the left hand for cleaning stems from cultural norms that associate the right hand with purity and actions, like eating or greeting others.
Right.
And the prohibition against using certain materials emphasizes the importance of choosing clean and pure substances for purification.
It's amazing how these guidelines extend beyond just the physical act, encompassing our surroundings, our mindset, and even our choice of materials.
Right.
It's about recognizing that even in private moments, we are accountable for our actions and should strive to maintain purity and respect.
And it's not just about prohibitions, there are recommendations as well.
Yeah.
For example, there's a suggestion to face east or west when relieving oneself in the open.
I've never thought about that before. Is there a specific reason for facing those directions?
It's thought to be connected to aligning oneself with the natural order of the sun's movement. It's a subtle way of recognizing the harmony and balance that Islam encourages in all aspects of life, even in the most private of acts.
It's incredible how these teachings infuse every aspect of our lives with meaning and intention.
Right.
Now moving on, Hadiths 5:14 and 5:15 reveal a fascinating practice of the Prophet. His preference for starting from the right side for various actions, like ablution, combing hair, and wearing shoes.
This practice of starting from the right is deeply symbolic. In Islamic tradition, the right side is often associated with blessings, virtue, and good fortune. It's a way of imbuing even the smallest actions with intentionality and seeking blessings in everything we do.
It's such a beautiful reminder that even in the mundane aspects of our daily routine, we can find opportunities to connect with our faith and seek Allah's blessings.
Right.
It's about infusing our lives with a sense of sacredness. Now, shifting gears a bit, Hadiths 5:16 to 5:19 highlight the prohibition against relieving oneself in public thoroughfares or shaded areas.
This prohibition underscores the importance of cleanliness and consideration for others. It's about maintaining public hygiene and ensuring that our actions don't inconvenience or harm others.
It's a reminder that our actions have ripple effects, impacting those around us.
Mm.
It's about being mindful of our surroundings and ensuring that we contribute to a clean and healthy environment for everyone.
Absolutely. And it ties back to that overarching theme of purification. It's not just about ourselves, it's about creating a pure and wholesome environment for our community as well.
Next, we come across the topic of wiping over socks, which is covered in Hadiths 5:20 to 5:30.
Okay.
These hadiths explain that wiping over socks instead of washing the feet during wudu is permissible under specific conditions.
This practice sparked some debate initially, especially considering Jurier's conversion to Islam after the revelation of Surah Al-Ma'idah.
So it seems like there are different interpretations about the permissibility of wiping over socks at different points in time.
Yes, but what's important to note is that the Prophet himself demonstrated wiping over his socks on several occasions, particularly after urination.
It's a reminder that Islamic law is not always rigid and unchanging. It's a living tradition that adapts to different situations and contexts. The Prophet's actions provide a practical example of how these principles can be applied in real-life scenarios.
And this flexibility is further emphasized in Hadiths 531 to 536, which explain the practice of wiping over the forelock and turban as part of wudu. We have a detailed account of Mughira witnessing the Prophet performing these actions during a journey, highlighting the context of travel and the need for practicality.
So it seems like there were certain allowances made during travel or when water was scarce.
Right.
These practices reflect the understanding and compassion inherent in Islamic teachings, recognizing the need for flexibility in different circumstances.
Right. It's about finding that balance between adhering to the principles of purification while acknowledging real-world situations and challenges. Islam is a practical religion, and these practices reflect that practicality.
It's about adapting to different contexts without compromising the essence of the principles. Speaking of guidelines and allowances, Hadiths 537 to 540 clarify the time limits for wiping over shoes. 3 days and nights for a traveler and 1 day and night for a resident.
These specific time frames provide clear guidance, but within these guidelines, there's still room for flexibility. We see this illustrated in the anecdote where Umar questions the Prophet's wiping over his socks, to which the Prophet replies that it was done intentionally.
That's a wonderful anecdote. It shows that even the Prophet, peace be upon him, was open to questions and clarifications. It also highlights that he wasn't afraid to make his own judgments based on his understanding of the spirit of the law.
Exactly. It's a reminder that we should always strive to understand the reasoning behind the rulings and apply them with wisdom and discernment, seeking guidance from those who have knowledge when needed. Then, in Hadiths 541 to 545, we encounter a seemingly simple yet profound recommendation: to wash hands 3 times before dipping them into a water utensil upon waking up.
It's a practical hygiene tip that highlights the importance of beginning our day with purity and cleanliness. But it also goes beyond just physical cleanliness, doesn't it?
It's about cultivating that awareness of purity from the moment we wake up. It's about starting our day with intentionality and reminding ourselves of the importance of cleanliness in our lives.
It sets the tone for the day, reminding us that purity is not just about rituals, it's about how we approach every aspect of our lives.
Now, moving on to Hadiths 546 to 552, we encounter instructions for purifying a utensil that has been licked by a dog.
Okay.
These hadiths instruct us to wash the utensil 7 times, with the first wash using sand.
That's quite a thorough cleaning process.
It reflects the understanding of dogs at the time and the cultural context surrounding purity. It's important to remember that certain practices are influenced by cultural norms and understandings, and these practices evolve as our knowledge and understanding grow.
It's a reminder that we should approach these practices with sensitivity and understanding, recognizing that they stem from a specific time and place. We can learn from these teachings while also acknowledging the evolution of knowledge and cultural understanding.
Absolutely. It's about respecting the wisdom of these teachings while also engaging in critical thinking and seeking further knowledge as our understanding evolves. Now, Hadiths 553 to 556 emphasize a prohibition against urinating in stagnant water and subsequently washing in it.
This prohibition seemed to stem from a deep concern for maintaining clean water sources and preventing the spread of impurities.
Right.
It highlights the interconnectedness of our actions and the impact they can have on the environment and the health of the community.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our individual actions have consequences and that we have a responsibility to protect the environment and ensure the well-being of others.
It's a powerful reminder that purity is not just a personal matter, it's a collective responsibility.
Right.
Then in Hadith 557 to 559, we encounter a heartwarming story of a Bedouin who urinates in the mosque.
What's striking about this story is the prophet's response. Instead of anger or punishment, he reacts with calmness and compassion, instructing his companions to simply pour a bucket of water over the contaminated area.
It's a beautiful example of his merciful nature and his practical approach to purification. It's a reminder that Islam is not about harsh judgments or rigid adherence to rules. It's about understanding, forgiveness, and finding solutions that uphold the principles of purity without causing harm or humiliation.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing the human condition and responding with mercy and wisdom.
Speaking of mercy and understanding, Hadiths 560 to 565 address the specific rulings regarding the urine of a suckling babe.
Okay.
These hadiths recount heartwarming anecdotes of the Prophet handling such situations with gentleness and kindness.
Instead of requiring a thorough washing, he merely sprinkles water, acknowledging the innocence of the child and demonstrating leniency in this matter.
Right.
This leniency is a hallmark of Islamic teachings, recognizing the need for flexibility and compassion in applying rules, especially when it comes to vulnerable individuals.
It's a beautiful reminder that Islam is not about rigid adherence to rules, but about finding a balance between upholding principles and showing mercy and understanding in specific situations.
Right. It's about recognizing the spirit of the law and applying it with wisdom and compassion. And finally, we arrive at Hadiths 566 to 572, which detail the purification of garments soiled by semen.
These hadiths offer different perspectives on the matter.
Right.
Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, recounts her practice of scraping off dried semen, while the Prophet is described as praying in a garment that still bore the mark of washing.
These varying practices highlight the permissibility of different approaches within the framework of Islamic law. It's a reminder that there isn't always a single rigid answer to every question, and that seeking knowledge from qualified sources is essential for understanding the nuances of Islamic teachings.
It encourages us to engage in critical thinking and to recognize that even within a framework of rules and guidelines, there's room for individual understanding and practice. It's about seeking knowledge, understanding the principles, and applying them with wisdom and discernment. It's comforting to know that even in matters of purification, there's room for personal understanding and practice. These hadiths we've discussed so far have covered a vast spectrum, from the meticulous details of wudu to broader concepts like fitra and the etiquette of relieving oneself.
Right.
But there's one final section in Sahih Muslim Book 2 that we haven't touched on yet.
You're right. Hadiths 575 and 576 provide a stark reminder about the importance of purification, specifically highlighting the consequences of neglecting it. They tell a story of the Prophet encountering 2 graves and revealing the torment of their occupants, one of whom is being punished for not taking care to avoid urine.
That's a powerful image, connecting the neglect of physical purity with spiritual consequences. It circles back to that very first hadith we discussed, cleanliness is half of faith.
Hmm.
It suggests that neglecting our physical purity can have repercussions that extend beyond this worldly life.
Exactly. It emphasizes that purification is not merely about outward cleanliness, but about cultivating a deeper inner purity that aligns with the principles of Islam.
Mm.
It's a reminder to be mindful of even seemingly small acts, as they can have a significant impact on our overall well-being.
It's a sobering thought, urging us to be vigilant in maintaining both our physical and spiritual hygiene. So looking back at our deep dive into purification as detailed in Sahih Muslim, what stands out to you as a key takeaway?
For me, it's the holistic nature of purification in Islam. It's not just about physical cleansing, it's about cultivating a state of purity in our thoughts, intentions, and actions. It's about recognizing that our physical actions have spiritual implications, and that true purity encompasses both our inner and outer
I
selves.
couldn't agree more. And it's incredible how these practices, while rooted in tradition, remain so relevant in our modern lives.
Absolutely. The emphasis on hygiene, for example, is more relevant today than ever. And the mindfulness encouraged in acts like wudu can help us cultivate a sense of presence and intentionality in our fast-paced world.
It's like these ancient practices offer a framework for living a more balanced and purposeful life, both physically and spiritually.
Beautifully put. It's about recognizing that even the most mundane acts, when infused with intention and performed in accordance with Islamic guidelines, can become acts of worship and a means of drawing closer to Allah. And I'm particularly struck by the compassion and understanding woven into these teachings. We see it in the leniency shown towards children, the practicality of wiping over socks and turbans,
Right.
and even in the Prophet's handling of the Bedouin who urinated in the mosque.
It's a reminder that Islam is a religion of mercy and that our actions should always be guided by kindness and understanding.
Right.
As we wrap up this deep dive, is there a final thought-provoking question that our listeners can ponder as they continue their exploration of purification in Sahih Muslim?
Um, in this digital age, we're constantly bombarded with information and imagery. I think a relevant question to consider is, how can we apply the principles of purification to our digital lives? How can we purify our online interactions, the content we consume, and the digital spaces we inhabit? It's a new frontier that wasn't addressed in the Hadith, but one that requires us to think critically and creatively about how to apply these timeless principles to our modern context.
That's a fantastic question. It challenges us to extend the wisdom of these teachings to new and evolving areas of our lives. We encourage our listeners to reflect on this question and share their insights with our online community.
Yeah.
Until next time, may Allah guide us all towards a state of purity and excellence in all aspects of our lives.